All right, Randall Hughes with GodGlorified.com, and we're reading and commenting on our January 22nd reading, which is from Genesis chapters 30 and 36, with a large portion also from First Chronicles that we finish up some of the simultaneous occurrences with the various births to Esau and Jacob's sons. Those things happen concurrently somewhat. It seems that obvious that Esau was having children the same time that Jacob was either working for Leah and Rachel or then working for Laban the additional 6 years. So there's 20 years there that Jacob is away from Esau. That Esau, he's been married now. Some of that may have happened before. If Esau was married at 40, so anyway, some interesting things to consider. I'll have a chart for you, and you've got the key events in Genesis chart that's available on my website. I'm going to have another one up there that's going to be Jacob to Joseph chart. And it goes from the birth of Joseph and Esau, which would have been 1807, until the death of Joseph, which was in 1606. And there's some interesting observations to make there. Of course, we just read through all the births of the 12 sons of Jacob. And one of the first things, and I think I mentioned this the other day, when you look at the chart of key events in Genesis, and that's included on everything from Jacob to Joseph, is at least some of those same dates. Obviously, I have all of the stuff, including this, with a little more zoom in and breakout of the years to and from, to some degree. So what I'll show is that Reuben was born when Jacob was 78. And that means that Reuben was 13 when Joseph was born. That means Simeon was 12. Levi and Dan were 11. Judah was 10. Naphtali was 7, as was Gad. Issachar was 5, as was Asher. Zebulun was 2. And Dinah was born the same year as Joseph. And so that's interesting. And then Benjamin was born 16 years later, which means Joseph was already sold as a slave. Is that right? No. Okay. It was the next year. I'm sorry. So Benjamin's born, Rachel dies, and that would have been 16 years after Joseph. So by now, Reuben is 29, Simeon's 28, 27 for Levi and Dan, and so forth. And so anyway, it gives you an opportunity to look at the ages that you might not have considered, but according to Reese and the way it looks like it would be in Scripture. So just to see, so Reuben or Joseph was 17 when he was sold, and then he lived to be 110. And so we'll talk about his age and things, the various occurrences going forward as we get to that part of Scripture. So anyway, just some interesting things to consider there. I don't know, in the reading today, there's a few things that stand out probably, that, and how much I want to point out some of it, I don't know. There was with the cattle, there's a common belief in those days that if they saw, obviously Joseph put the different poplar, whatever, different types of trees and things in front of their eyes. If they saw that when they were conceiving, that their children would be, the calves, whatever, their offspring, would be basically what they saw. And so that's what he tried to do in some level of manipulation. And yet, when you get to Genesis 35, when he's confronting Laban, he says he gives God credit for having built him. And so it's not like he totally felt like he manipulated and made it all happen. But at any rate, so what we have there with the Reese's Bible, we started with chapter 36. We read through some of the stuff with Esau and Edom, who is known as Edom. and went through to pulled in the stuff from First Chronicles, and so we finished out. I think we finished now the first chapter. We've had enough different things through scatterings of that chapter through our readings thus far. So that's how Reese does it, to try to get everything that happened. And so each time they're talked about a birth, and so that's how it's going to be when we get to 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 2 Kings, 1 2 Chronicles as well, to try to pull things in all together simultaneous. So anyway, it can be challenging for us to keep up with, but in general, it gives you. I ought to be getting better at saying the names by the second or third time, but it doesn't always seem to happen that way. But at any rate, there's some interesting things here in regard to the history of Joseph, the birth of Dan versus the birth of Judah were about a year apart the way it falls, but they were probably closer than, more closer to a few months. However, the way it would actually have fallen, that put them about a year apart anyway. Levi and Dan are believed to have been born in the same year, according to Reese here. So that's some of the things there. I don't know that there's a whole lot in through the genealogies. There wasn't a whole lot of significant, if I could say it that way, at least from what our perspective is for today. And so anyway, that's what I have, and I pray God's blessings on you this day, and we will talk again soon.